What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your $1,400 third stimulus check update. For your first update, we're going to go directly to the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki to give us the latest updates on the third stimulus check package, what is going on with it, and related news. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new updates, and hit the like button for us. It really helps out our channel. All right, here we go. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on the $1,400 third stimulus check package.
Okay, just a couple of additional updates for all of you. Today, President Biden will meet with labor leaders to thank them for their role representing workers and supporting a strong American middle class, and to discuss the importance of passing the American Rescue Plan, which will not only help contain the pandemic and deliver immediate economic relief, but will also create jobs, including good union jobs. Today, our COVID response team also announced critical steps to expand testing in the United States, a critical piece of turning the tide of the pandemic and protecting our public health. Today, they have announced that the federal government will invest $1.6 billion, already allocated funds, but in 3 areas. And this includes $650 million to support testing in schools and underserved communities. HHS will use these funds to create regional coordinating centers that will partner with labs to leverage their underutilized testing capacity. These coordinating centers will help match lab capacity with demand from schools, congregate settings, like homeless shelters or other underserved populations. Almost $200 million will go to increase genomic sequencing. This surge in funding will result in a 3-fold increase in the CDC's genomic sequencing capacity to get us to 25,000 samples a week. This will help us identify variants sooner, which is obviously important and pivotal at this point in time. And $815 million will go to manufacture critical testing supplies on things like filter pipette tips, nitrocellulose used in antigen tests, and specialized injection molded plastics needed to house testing regions. These are critical steps to address vital issues. This funding and these efforts are far from what is necessary. It simply provides a bridge to the funding that is in the American Rescue Plan, which will help us get more shots into the arms of Americans. I also have an update on the winter storms in Texas, which I know is of great interest to many of you. Our team and FEMA continue to monitor the situation in Texas, as well as other states in the storm's path that might be impacted. We remain in close contact with states across the affected area to ensure any federal support requirements are met. FEMA has supplied generators to Texas and is preparing to move diesel into the state to ensure the continued availability of backup power, which of course is a major issue on the ground, to key critical infrastructure, including communications, hospitals, and water. FEMA is also supplying Texas with water and blankets at their requests. We are preparing to quickly process requests from other states for emergency assistance. That's how the process typically works. And we urge people in the affected states to, of course, listen to their emergency management officials. Final updates. Ahead of the meeting this afternoon, the President is taking several steps to expand high-quality, registered apprenticeships to reward work, rebuild the middle class, and connect a diverse workforce to family-supporting living wage jobs. Specifically, today he is endorsing Congressman Scott's National Apprenticeship Act, which the House estimates will create nearly 1 million new apprenticeship opportunities and help ensure women and workers of color benefit. He's reinstating the long-standing National Advisory Committee on Apprenticeships, which will bring the voice of unions, employers, community colleges, and other institutions to expanding and improving the registered apprenticeship programs. And that he is signing an executive order that reverses Trump's executive order, former President Trump's executive order, which spurred the creation of industry-recognized apprenticeship programs. These programs lack quality standards and threaten to undermine the registered apprenticeship programs that have been the pathway to middle class for decades. I said that was the last. I have one more thing. Also today, the President nominated Jennifer Abruzzo as General Counsel of the National Labor Relations Board, and many of you have been following the changeover of leadership there. Having spent more than 20 years working for the NLRB, Abruzzo will bring with her deep experience and knowledge of the NLRB's role and will be an important partner in building a strong and more resilient and more inclusive economy that delivers every American a fair return for their work. With that, a couple things at the top. Go ahead.
Thanks. I had a couple of questions,
Sure.
sort of follow-ups from yesterday
Okay.
and this morning on 2 different issues. First, on getting the 5 days a week school. The Vice President this morning, I believe, said it's a priority to get vaccinations for teachers. Can you get to 5 days a week without vaccinations? Does the President believe that teachers need to be vaccinated before they go back to school?
No, neither the president nor the vice president believe that it is a requirement. The CDC guidelines included a range of mitigation steps, including vaccinations, as recommendations. But the mitigation steps also included steps like social distancing, the need for smaller class sizes, the need for sanitation. So this was one of several steps recommended in the CDC guidelines. Now, at the same time, the president and the vice president both believe that teachers should be prioritized. And as you all know, that's up to states to determine. There are federal recommendations. About half of the country, about half of the states in the country have prioritized teachers, and they both feel that's important, including child health care workers, and they both feel that that's something that is impacting working women and moms who are trying to go back to work and trying to make sure that their kids have the attention and child care they need. So it's not a requirement to reopen schools, but they believe that teachers should be prioritized.
And the timeline for widespread vaccine availability keeps getting pushed back. Originally, it seemed we were eyeing sometime in the spring. Now, the president last night said the end of July. So when do we expect that there will be enough doses for everyone who wants a vaccine to be able to get one?
Well, the president actually announced, I know we've been putting out a lot of COVID news. I realize that almost every day. The president actually announced last week, or we announced last week, that he would be purchasing, that the federal government would be purchasing enough doses to vaccinate 300 million Americans. So he reiterated that last night. We will get the last shipment of those doses the end of July. By the end of May, we will have about 400 million doses. So at that point, once we have 400 million doses, there will certainly be a larger swath of people who will be eligible, who will be able to get access to the vaccine. But in terms of when every American who wants a vaccine who can get a vaccine, we will have enough doses by the end of July, and those have already been ordered from Pfizer and Moderna.
And just one more question on the question of when we get some semblance of normalcy. Mm-hmm. That timeline also seems to be shifting. Dr. Fauci had said a sense of normalcy maybe in the fall. That's when you might be able to go to theaters, go to sporting events, still with masks, of course. Now it seems that's being slid to early next year. The president said maybe around Christmas. What's going on here? When do we think we will get back to some taste of normalcy?
Well, this is the question, as I'm sure is the case for all of you, that every neighbor, every friend, every family member asks, at least me in the street when I'm walking my dog in the morning. We want to be straight with the American public, though. We are not in a place where we can predict exactly when everybody will feel normal again. And there are a number of reasons. One is, even though we will have enough doses for every person in this country, as you all know, because we've talked about it in here, vaccine hesitancy remains a challenge. We need to ensure that everybody who can get a dose is getting a dose. We will also need to be masking for some time. We will also need to be still taking social distancing measures. So, there's of course an understandable question, and I think the president wants things to return to normal, as we all do. But we don't know at this point what that timeline is going to look like.
So basically, there should be enough vaccines for every American by midsummer, June, July-ish, for people that want to take it. But we might not get back to normal until the end of this year at best. And that is not really accounting for the variations and the mutations coming from the virus that are going to make the vaccines less effective. So we'll have to see how that goes in the future.
Really quick one.
Sure.
The president mentioned, it didn't seem like he was endorsing it, just that he mentioned it, the idea of summer school. Is that something he would
Doesn't
like
every
to
kid want summer school?
It
It's
sounds
the
like
dream.
it.
Your kids
It's like
probably
a
want summer school.
nightmare. But is that something he would like to see? I know it's in the discussion, and I know it's up to school districts. And is that something he'd like to do if schools are able to reopen, to have full semesters for summer school?
Well, it is something that is an option. And, our Department of Education is also undergoing a study to determine the impact of COVID on kids and schools. And what is the impact of doing remote learning? What's the impact of not being in school with your teacher? And from that, they'll be able to work with school districts on what's going to work best to address the challenges and needs that they're finding through that study. But this funding that is in the American Rescue Plan can be used for a range of purposes, and we've talked about a lot of them. Bus drivers, hiring of temporary teachers, PPE or other equipment, but also can be used for tutoring or summer school in cases where that would be an appropriate step, and it's really going to be up to the school districts to determine that.
And finally, you said previously that the goal was to have the majority of K-8 schools open at least one day a week in the first 100 days. Last night, President Biden called that a mistake in communication. He wants them open 5 days a week. So can you clarify what is the administration's goal for reopening K-8 schools in the first 100 days?
Well, I'm not going to take it personally that you don't hang on every word that I say in here. I did say last Thursday that the president will not rest until every school is open 5 days a week. That is our goal. That is what we want to achieve, but we look forward to seeing and hearing the CDC guidelines to gain a better understanding of what steps that will entail or should entail. I also said I can assure any parent listening that his objective, his commitment is to ensure schools are open 5 days a week. So I think we've been consistent for the last several days, and certainly when I initially said 1 day a week, it was our floor, it was not our ceiling, but without a doubt, the president wants schools to open 5 days a week, wants students to be in the classroom, wants to do that safely. We now have some guidelines from the CDC with several mitigation steps. We'll have to work. We need funding to do that. That is a pivotal piece of it. Many school districts need funding. They don't have it. And also we need our Secretary of Education in place to work to implement.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts on that down below in the comments. Do you think that schools should open for the rest of this school year 5 days a week? Or do you think they should still be doing the hybrid or at-home school where they're doing it basically over Zoom conference and no risk to catching the virus and spreading it to your family, but they're not in person then? So yeah, let me know. Do you think it's too early to go back to school 5 days a week? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments.
Another follow-up on last night. The president said pretty clearly that he doesn't think he has the authority to cancel $50,000 in student loan debt. Today, Senators Schumer and Warren said in a statement that they were told the administration is still working on figuring out if it has the authority. So if your lawyers would determine that canceling this is legal, would the president go ahead with this? And if not, why not?
Well, first, on last night's town hall, for those of you who didn't see the whole thing, he was reiterating his previously stated position, which is he doesn't favor $50,000 in student loan relief without limitation. And he used some examples of the types of schools or when it should be reimbursed or refunded. He said previously that relief above $10,000 should be targeted based on the borrower's income, based on the kind of debt in question, public schools versus private schools, graduate schools versus undergraduate. Obviously, there's a lot of considerations at play. What the president has told Senators Schumer and Warren is that once his team is in place at the Justice Department, and they are not, of course, they're not confirmed at this point, he will ask them to conduct a legal review of his authority to act by executive action in conjunction with a policy review from his Domestic Policy Council on how executive action debt relief, if any, should be targeted. So obviously that's a review that would need to take place. There's a legal consideration there, as I think everybody agrees. There's a policy consideration, and once that's concluded, he'll decide the path forward.
So he hasn't yet ruled it out if all of these ifs and buts are still in place, and obviously you need your team in place and the review to take place.
That's right. There needs to be a team at the Justice Department to make a recommendation on his legal authority. And obviously the domestic policy team is in place, but they would be a part of that conversation certainly as well. And in the meantime, if Congress moves forward and sends him a package that provides $10,000 of student debt relief, he'd be eager to sign that. So there are several levers here, and he's looking forward to that process moving forward.
Wow, so pretty big news there. Obviously, student loan forgiveness has been the hot topic for today and since last night when President Biden was asked that question. Jen Psaki says a couple different things there. One, it looks like he would be open to more than $10,000 student loan forgiveness, possibly with conditions based on each person. It's kind of like income limits she mentioned there, possibly, or also possibly school type limits. I don't know how they would implement something like that. It does definitely look like, we've seen this time and time again, that President Joe Biden is okay with $10,000 of student loan forgiveness. So if you have student loans, about 1 in 6 adults have student loans, is that you could get $10,000 off. And I mean, that's more than a $1,400 stimulus check by a long way. And as you know, student loans are something you pretty much can't ever get rid of. So you have to pay it off at some point or another, and there's interest. So really that $10,000 is worth more than $10,000 because of the interest. So honestly, I expect some point within the near future that we will see at least $10,000 of actual student loan forgiveness happen. The real question is going to be, how are they going to implement it? Are they going to do it through presidential executive order? Are they going to try to do it through a bill? I think it'd be harder to do through a bill because, well, then we need all the Democrats and to pass it through reconciliation or get Republicans on board. And I don't know if you know, but probably Republicans won't be on board for it. So I think really the best way to do it is through presidential executive order. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Elizabeth Warren say that they do have the authority to do this through presidential executive order. I think Chuck Schumer, being the Senate Majority Leader, is one of the most kind of like credible person when it comes to law. You would think he would know what he's talking about, being the Senate Majority Leader, just like I would say the same thing about Mitch McConnell knowing the law, because I mean they've been in Congress forever. So you would think that they would know. If they say it, I kind of believe either one of them, because I mean they've been in Congress forever. They should know the law at this point. But what she's saying is that she wants to have their Justice Department review if they can actually do that, and their people aren't confirmed yet. They have to be confirmed through the Senate when Biden or a new president brings in new people to fill their cabinet, and they're still actually doing that in the Senate. So, but I do think that we're going to see at least $10,000 of student loan debt, possibly more in the near future. Obviously, that's been the hot topic over the last 24 hours. Just like we, you know how topics go. They're just stuff. At any given 24 hours, we have a different hot topic.
The president spoke about minimum wage last night and reiterated his support for $15 an hour. And at the same time, he also tried to explain sort of a gradual rollout, and he spoke about 12, 13. We appreciate the clarification your office put out this morning about what that would look like. I'm just trying to get a better understanding of whether the White House will still insist that $15 go into the bill, the COVID relief bill now, and if that is not happening, what is the path forward? Is it the House legislation talking about $15 by October 2025? Is that what the White House will support if this doesn't happen? What is it looking like?
Well, we're in the middle of the legislative process for the American Rescue Plan, and we fully recognize, as does the president, having served in the Senate for 36 years, that his bill that he proposed that included a $15 minimum wage increase, included many other key components, may not look exactly the same on the other end when it comes out of the sausage making machine. But he put it in there, a raise of the minimum wage, because he feels it's important, it's a priority, and that men and women who are working hard, who are living making an honest living, shouldn't be living at the poverty level. We will let that process see itself through. It's not even to the Senate yet, and it will move its way through the Senate process and hopefully soon, but I'm not going to get ahead of the process in Congress.
So you're still optimistic, Jen, that $15 will make it into this package and will become a reality?
We'll see. It's up to members of Congress to determine what the final package looks like. It's a priority to the president. That's why he put it in the package. But he also, and I appreciate you referencing, where exactly. I just stumbled over 100 words. I appreciate you referencing that when he was asked this question last night, it was by a small business owner who was concerned that immediately he would, or this is what the president's takeaway was, that immediately he would be in a place where he had to pay his workers $15 an hour next month or soon, and the president was explaining to him that this would be a progressive increase, right? And that's something that Senator Sanders supports as well. So he was explaining it would go to 12, then it would go to 13. It would be over a series of time, over a couple of years. So that was how he was explaining it. But again, the process is ongoing. We look forward to it moving forward rapidly, and we'll see what comes out on the other side.
So he definitely supports even a gradual rollout as an option on the table.
Oh, absolutely, he supports a gradual increase, that it wouldn't be an immediate, and as does Senator Sanders, and as do many advocates for increasing the minimum wage.
You said yesterday, quote, "We haven't yet determined what the next priority forward would be, but he," meaning the president, "is engaging with his policy team." Earlier this month, when the president met in the Oval with House Democrats, he said, quote, "I can hardly wait to sit down with Peter DeFazio to work on infrastructure." this is the next big piece. So I'm wondering,
He is excited about infrastructure, and I'm sure he will be talking about it today.
but is it indeed the next big piece, or is the administration trying to figure out what the next big piece will be?
Well, first I will say our focus right now, and the president's focus, is on the American Rescue Plan and moving that, doing everything he can to move that through Congress, to communicate with the American public, to convey why there's money needed for it to reopen schools, to get shots in arms, to get direct checks out to the American people. I would not expect him to lay out next pieces of his agenda until that package is through and signed and that relief is going out to the public. In the interim period, he's going to consult with a range of stakeholders, labor leaders today, members of Congress and Senate leaders last week. He had a discussion with the American public on television during a town hall last night to determine what the next steps look like. Infrastructure is certainly an issue he's had a long passion for. He does believe it creates good paying union jobs. He thinks they can be done as clean energy jobs, but we're going to focus our efforts at this point in time on the American Rescue Plan.
So yeah, they're talking about the next stimulus package there called the infrastructure package, also known as the Build Back Better package. That has already been announced that will be coming after this third stimulus check package. There will be multiple different stimulus provisions in there depending on what they want to throw in there, possibly more checks, possibly another unemployment extension, possibly more mortgage and rental assistance, possible student loan forgiveness, and or Social Security increases. You would kind of consider that part of the infrastructure package. Social Security is pretty much considered, in my opinion, part of infrastructure of the country. I mean, it supports tens of millions of people. So those are possible things that we could see in the future. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon for notifications. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you updated with everything, the checks, the unemployment checks, the child stimulus checks of $3,000, and more. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video teaches you how to start your own business selling products on Amazon FBA. I have dozens of students that have replaced their 9-to-5 income selling products on Amazon, and I teach them how to do that. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.